Welcome back. We have Tim Fitzmaurice with us, and Tim came to us, and I don't book these shows. I don't talk to the guests beforehand, and just to let you know that. And that's by design that I don't do that, is because we like to have what I call a path of discovery. So as you, a viewer at home, will discover along with me what the topic is. And if I had pre-interviewed some of the people here on the show, then I don't think that you would get basic information, and that's what we're trying to do is bring out your story in a basic format. I've never met you before, and when my office manager told me we're going to talk about a Verizon issue that happened to you, I go, oh boy.
Yeah.
So let's start from the beginning. And explain. You were about to explain that. You said you're not internet savvy and you're not a technical guru. So
middle-aged guy, that messes around with a little bit. My wife does most of the Facebook stuff, just for fun and that sort of thing. And we had been saving a few years to go on a trip to Jamaica, which is where we went on our honeymoon 31 years ago.
Right.
And I've had Verizon account for 20 years now, and I went into Verizon a week before the trip, and I said, I have this smartphone now that you guys sold me, and I was wondering I'm going on this trip for 2 weeks. What do I need to know, basically? And
will it work?
Yeah. Well,
is that what you're wanting?
Will this work down there?
Yeah.
Well, can I use my phone down there, or do I need to get one while I'm down there, rent one? And they said, oh no, you can use that one down there. As a matter of fact, you can get a little package put onto your plan that will save you a lot of minute time. And I said, oh, hey, sign me up. That sounds good. So they called me later on that day. It was only $5 for 30 days to do that. And it was going to cut the price a third or something, quite a lot by the minute, because you pay for that. So
you have to be charged by the minute when you're out of the United States?
Yeah, when you're outside the United States, none of your U.S. Plans apply. Those are domestic national plans. And so they did call me later on that evening and tell me that that particular package wouldn't fit with my plan. It's just that feature wasn't available with my particular plan.
There was a mistake made? Or?
No, there wasn't. That wasn't so much the mistake as much as at that point I felt like it could have been mentioned to me that I have a smartphone that roams the internet 24/7 looking for a signal to update emails, to check Facebook status, et cetera, whatever computers would do when they get on the internet automatically. And so I was very careful not to make phone calls. I made 2 phone calls, and they came to $8.25. It was the data roaming that the phone was doing, unbeknown to me.
So you didn't physically touch the phone to make it go anywhere. It's just it's set up as a smart, and that's what smartphones do.
Yeah, it looks for a signal, and in the hotel there's signals because we took our laptop with us for correspondence, loading up pictures and emailing our family and stuff like that, and sharing our vacation experience.
But the trouble arises when you go out of the country, right? Away from cell towers in this area?
As soon as you leave the country. Apparently, what I've found on the internet, there are horror stories about people that went to Canada on vacation, and people that go to, I'm not sure about Hawaii. I think, I don't know about Hawaii yet. I'm kind of trying to find somebody that may know about Hawaii.
Yeah.
But particularly Mexico and the Caribbean. We were in Jamaica, and it was just a real shock to me, obviously, when I got back. We were gone 14 days, and when I returned, I went to pay the previous month's bill, and when I went to pay it, I looked down, and there was the balance for the upcoming month, which is due in March.
Yeah.
Okay, and there was a $5,021.64 roaming charge, which was the phone just doing its own surfing on its own. And there is a function you can turn it off. You can go in and turn it off, but my understanding of what I've learned recently is that most of these smartphones will go ahead and restart themselves and put themselves back into that function.
As a backup to make sure that you have that connection.
Yeah, and so you have to keep it, I suppose in that case, because I didn't even know that, because we didn't check it at all. I didn't do anything like that. I just felt like I could have been told.
Yeah.
And it roamed 24/7. And I did the math on it, and it comes to about 26 cents a minute all the time we were gone.
Yeah.
And that adds up really, really
So
fast.
you saw the bill and you put it aside and said, no big deal.
No. Yeah, I'll pay that.
Yeah, no problem.
Pocket change. No, not really. In fact, we saved 3 years to go on this trip. And we didn't stay at a fancy place. We stayed at a kitchenette where we could cook our own foods, and we really enjoyed that aspect of it. But we couldn't afford a Sandals or something, But we could have, if I'd have known, we could have stayed at the nicest place down there and probably got there on a private jet.
What happened? I mean, when you confronted them with this,
it happened at the store too. I did it. I discovered it at the store where I go in and pay my bill. I swipe my card and pay at the kiosk. And because I say hi to everybody and all, so because they're familiar with, they know me, and I noticed down at the bottom the next month's bill, and I called one of the fellows over here, and they're all really good people. They're smart, they're sharp, they try real hard to help you out there. It's a great store, and they came over and looked at it and just went, well, that's a first, and they went immediately to the computer and pulled up my account, and they said, sure enough, it's showing 251,000 kilobytes of usage for roaming, of data usage. Data roaming is what they called it. Not even usage. In fact, on the bill, which I brought the bill, on the bill it has 0 data usage, but it has roaming of $5,021. So it was, it would be different if I'd been using it, but I wasn't using it, and that's why we brought the laptop, because we had free internet with the laptop, there. And so he got the customer service rep on the phone, and I talked to them. They immediately offered a couple of discounts, and when I said, I really need this taken care of, I really need help, this is, I can't even afford it with a discount, what are you talking about? They said, the one boy who admitted he didn't have the authority to do it said, well, I'm going to put through for 100% credit on that charge. And I said, oh, bless your heart, I really appreciate it. Well, 24 hours later, less than 24 hours later, I got a phone call from apparently his supervisor out of Verizon, not this local store. We're past the local store now. They called and left a voicemail for me, because I wasn't at the phone, telling me that they're sorry, but that credit cannot be applied.
Oh, my gosh.
And I went, oh, my gosh. And I didn't know what to do. And so I went... I mentioned it to the radio station, because I knew Bobby Knight from the radio station was on a cruise at that time in Jamaica. And I went, you guys better call Bobby and tell him to turn his phone off. That was my thought. Jim Bodenhammer said, would you like to, can I interview you about this? And I said, well, sure. And then I guess the newspaper picked it up, and they did a front page. And to me, I never thought it was, but I think it's a message that needs to be put out to everybody out there that's even thinking about going. And if they have a smartphone, go to the store that you got the phone and make them tell you what this phone is capable of doing to you, because this was a tragic shock. They call it shock billing, and they feature this kind of phone, and there's several. The iPhone, happens to be the Droid, and all like that, has what they call push technology. That's actually the term, push. And that's what it does. It pushes through until it finds a signal, and then it updates. It's constantly updating and checking your emails for you as a convenience. But the thing is that the cell phone carriers, the phone companies, and it's not just Verizon, so whatever they have, they need to have it checked out, because that roaming outside the country is exorbitant. I've read horror stories on the internet. If you will Google cell phone bill disputes, there'll be hundreds of them that you can, and there's people in a lot worse shape than me. That have been fighting it for months, and they're up to, adding late fees and all that to them. So
is this an ongoing dispute, or did you solve the problem?
Well, no, it's not solved yet. It's been promised to be solved. I was told that was called last Friday by a call center, thanks to Josh Dooley, the reporter from the Baxter Bulletin. He called the call center in Little Rock and got a hold of somebody, and they called me that, the afternoon that the story hit the paper. They called me that afternoon and said, we've got this taken care of. You have nothing to worry about. It will be expunged on Monday. Well, Monday came, and I didn't get a phone call, so I waited till 4 o'clock in the afternoon and called the number that this girl gave me, and she said, well, it's the manager that has to approve it is not here. He's out of the country, so it's going to be about 48 more hours before you'll see it. Well, it's been 48, and I'm waiting. So if it's not taken care of by tomorrow morning, then I'm certainly going to call her back see what can be done about it, or maybe I'll have a fundraiser. Maybe Twin Lakes Playhouse can do a fundraiser.
What was their explanation for not expunging it? I mean, the typical corporate line of, well, you should have read the contract or something. I mean,
they didn't come right out and say that.
You know,
the manager at this store out here did kind of allude to, well, they'll probably work with you on payments and such, and I went. I just went, that's, I mean, don't you see this as an issue, a billing problem? And I think it is. I've contacted through email our representative and our senator, which is Lori Benedict and Johnny Key, and they've replied and said that they were appalled by it too, and they said that they will look into it. I've written the Attorney General and waiting for a response from the Attorney General's office right now, and I just think that the cell phone companies should definitely be held responsible enough to send an alert of some kind, even a text message or something, because I've talked to people that have
the fact that you went into one of their stores and said, I'm leaving the country, what do I need to do?
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm diligent that way. I went to my bank a week before we went on the trip and said, if you see any suspicious activity on my debit card, that's because I'm in Jamaica, and I told her where I was going to be and how long I was, and they went,
"Oh, well, did you read your contract, buddy?" But you asked them, "What do I need to do?" And they said, "Well, they didn't say anything."
I think they just didn't think of it. I think it just didn't come to mind.
So you don't think anyone locally knew that this sort of thing occurred?
They acted like that it was a first to them, but I can't. I'm not saying that they're not truthful. I'm saying I just don't think they knew. But all you have to do is go on the internet.
Do you think it's because it's a newer phone? Because I went to
Europe. It's the new technology.
Yeah, because I went to Europe a couple of years ago and took my smartphone, didn't have an issue at all.
Yeah,
I
don't know.
For anything. I text back and forth home. I didn't call anybody, and my phone bill wasn't real. I mean, it had a few little charges on it.
Was it internet phone?
Yeah.
And you never had any problem in Europe?
I wasn't charged for anything, not unless I used it.
Well, good for you.
Well, it was Alltel back then.
Yeah.
I don't know. It might be because it's newer. I don't know.
Yeah, because it was a BlackBerry, but it surfed the internet and all that sort of stuff.
When you did research on Google about phone disputes, how many did you find that were almost identical to yours?
Well, I found 14 just in the first 2 pages on Google.
And related to the same problem that you had?
Related almost exactly. That they went out of the country, they didn't realize that their phone would kick itself back on after it was disengaged, and that there was such ridiculous roaming charges on it. I mean, it's not a legal issue. I mean, they have the right to do this because, like you said, it's in a contract and everything. It's more of a moral thing in terms of.
But you're establishing a pattern that the company has been made aware that this issue happens.
Well, the FCC has actually raised an eyebrow back in October of 2010. I went to a lawyer site on eBay and it was talking back and forth to a legal advice site by lawyers on there, and they said that the FCC was looking at trying to get the phone companies to be more forthright, be more upfront with these kind of things, broader, bigger, have a big sign in the window or something like that. But so far, it doesn't seem to have made any difference, according to this guy.
Yeah, well, because Americans do travel.
And it's not an isolated incident. It could happen to anybody. And I just say, don't take your phone. And that was one of the things somebody said, why'd you take your phone? I said, well, it's not. I didn't beam myself from Mountain Home to Jamaica. I went to Memphis, drove, and then I had to get to Atlanta. So you have your phone and you're talking to people and you just don't think, and you get on the plane and sure, you turn the phone off.
Was your phone turned completely off?
On the plane it was, because they tell you to.
But when you were in Jamaica, it was your phone.
No,
you had your phone
no,
off. The phone was completely turned off?
No, it was not turned off.
Oh, okay.
It was just like it is right now.
Oh, okay.
It was able to get phone calls because we thought, what if we needed to get a phone call? And I knew, and I told everybody, I said, it's going to be $4 or $5 a minute, so don't call me unless it's a real emergency. Texting was a lot less money, so go ahead and text me and that sort of thing. But I pretty much left it in the room because when we were out running around, I didn't take it with me. But I would check it for messages and stuff like that when I got back to see if there was any text messages and all. But I had no idea that it was sitting there all the while surfing the net without actually going anywhere. It was just sitting there, and it just adds up really, really fast. But some of the stories I read on Google though were just made 5,000 look minuscule.
Wow.
12,
Yeah.
18, 51,000, one of them I read. And so I just wanted to get that message out, is that I believe there needs to be some legislation. You know, I felt bushwhacked.
Well, what's frustrating to me is that as companies become conglomerates and they get bigger and bigger, the steamroll effect over the average consumer gets to be bigger and bigger, and we accept those more often. And push technology has become push billing.
Yep.
And you're at the mercy of that. And if we don't have people in office that represent us, then we're at the mercy of paying that, and it's unjust.
Yeah. I mean, they could make me pay it.
Yeah.
You know, so
well, we desperately want to get the word out, and if you're planning a trip or if you have any questions at all, might be a good idea to Google phone disputes, or maybe even Google something that you're even a question about that you can't get answers at the phone company, because God bless them, they're there to push sales and to upsell and those kind of things, and they may not know all the technical issues, and you may have to dig real deep to find out what it is that's going to fit your specific situation. And heaven forbid it happens after the fact and you end up with a $5,000
I agree. We just have to educate ourselves when it comes to this sort of thing, and you just can't be too careful with it. I mean, I learned, and I'm learning a lot as it goes, and I'd just like to see people who have some, you know, more influence over that sort of thing say, hey, you need to quit running roughshod over your customers. Just because you can get away with it doesn't make it okay to do it.
Well, in the old days, we could take a dispute like this down at the local office and talk to the manager that's there. Well, the manager is not there anymore.
No, there's too many levels.
in Columbus or wherever. You never will be able to see it.
Verizon's
But
in New Jersey.
we're concerned, and we want to, if you wouldn't mind letting us have an update so we can pass the updated information on to our viewers.
I'll let you know about the even what the legislators have come up with. If they see something that they want to run with this and try to submit something that's going to help protect the consumer.
Yeah.
You know, and I really appreciate you letting me
no
come
problem.
on here.
We just don't want Goliath to get so big that we can't throw that rock up and hit him.
Amen. We're just little Davids over here.
Yeah. Thanks, Tim, so much for coming on. We appreciate it. It was a great segment, and we want to, again, if you have any issues like that, contact your representative or Tim's number was on the phone. I don't guess you would mind talking with people.
No, call me.
Give them some advice.
Well, I don't know if I can scare them.
Yeah. Fear is a great motivator.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Up next, Christy Kern is here talking about the Gaston Lecture Series, right?
Yeah.
All right. Stay with us.